So I'm pleased to be here with Jay Mothersill, not only a great friend of mine, but Jay is the first person to actually open up Cuba for adventure in kayaking and paddle sports, and has you've been going down there for the last what, 2 or 3 years now?
About 3 years since we ran the first tour, the very first tour ever in Cuba, which was very exciting. But it did take me at least a couple years to finalize all the details before we got the approval. So,
Okay. And
yeah.
what's the name of your company right now?
Cuba Adventure Company.
Okay, so CubaAdventureCompany.com, and you've got an outstanding website. I've checked it out, and really the whole purpose of this is kind of like an interview, candid interview style of just talking about Cuba. And I guess I'm going to open up with the first question. You
Sure.
know, why Cuba?
Why Cuba? Well, I if you're anything like me, the very first time someone said, "Hey, you should go to Cuba and check it out," I thought, "Well, I don't really have any interest in doing that," because in my mind, I thought all-inclusive resorts, and it's really not my cup of tea. And after going down there and spending some time, I was blown away. And I've been to a lot of destinations in the world where adventure tourism is really huge, and I realized the potential and that nobody was doing it.
Okay.
And I couldn't stop thinking about it. I came back from a 2-week kind of whirlwind tour, and all I could think of was the potential for paddle sports, for kayaking, stand-up paddle boarding, hiking, multi-sport type of adventuring. And
Yeah.
ever since then, I've just been addicted to going there. It's
Wow.
kind of like Costa Rica before adventure tourism got very big there.
Wow, that's exciting. That
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
exciting. From my perspective, and not knowing a lot about Cuba, I couldn't help but notice the passion that you had. I mean, as we've mentioned, we've been buddies for a long time, and so uh, you know, coming back from Cuba for the first time, I could see that wow, something was, you were excited.
Yeah, yeah. Again, like I say, I saw the potential, and once we had that first tour run and under our belt, and realized like the reviews we got from people, I knew we were onto something pretty sweet. In a short amount of time, we've really expanded. I
Wow.
mean, we went from our first season running about 15 kayak week-long tours, and then the second season we had 20, and then we started looking at stand-up paddleboarding, and we've
Wow.
integrated some really exciting multi-sport adventures,
Wow.
which are great for people who wanted adventure style travel that maybe away from the all-inclusive resorts, where each day it's a new activity, and you get out and you get to see the real Cuba.
Yeah.
The real Cuba.
A question I have is, who, you talk about adventure, adventures in Cuba, and who qualifies for your trips? Like, are they extreme? Are they, what kind of trips are
Yeah,
they?
good question. Originally, with the kayak programs, we were targeting people with a love for kayaking. But we've also designed the programs realizing you guys are on vacation, and you want to also have some time to relax, a little free time, maybe some time to do other things. So it's not a hard expedition style paddle. It's more of a each day is kind of a new adventure. Out on the water for maybe between 2 to 4 hours, but maybe 5 hours. But we take a lot of breaks, so we'll
Okay.
do some nice snorkeling, maybe some cave tour, or
Wow. Wow.
city tour, so you can see a little more about the culture. So I didn't want it to be very regimented in just the one sport. I wanted it to, when you left and you went home, you went, wow, you had a really good picture of
Okay.
what Cuba has to offer in,
So
in
it's
all of
real.
our trips.
It's really, I mean, families qualify.
Families can qualify. In fact, I've had quite a few families, with even younger kids sign up for the multi-sport programs.
Okay.
And the kids just have a blast, and we keep everybody busy and excited.
Wow. So is there like an age range from, say, minimum age to, like,
I would say
would you kind
around, I would say, 8, 9 years old. My daughter's 9, and she's come on a lot of the adventures with me, and has had a blast. Even the
Wow.
kayak tour, she sat in the front of a tandem on one of the kayak adventures, and
Wow.
really had a good time. But I would say that's kind of you get a little younger than that, it's hard, because we do move around a lot, and where there's a lot of activity.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, that's fantastic. So going to Cuba for the first time, and embarking upon one of your adventures, what can, if I wanted, say, a variety, say I wasn't just say I'm not a paddler, I'm interested in the kayaking, obviously, but but you know, maybe I'm not an experienced paddler, and I'm interested in other aspects of Cuba. What can I expect in terms of say one of your trips that would have variety?
Okay. So we usually recommend people to look at the multi-sport programs
Okay.
because you get a little taste of hiking, horseback riding, kayaking, a lot of cultural stuff, cultural tours, tours of the old Spanish forts. I
Wow.
mean, you really,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
you get a
incredible.
really good mix. Even a catamaran tour, for instance. Up in the mountain lakes, we go on a nice boat tour of the mountain lakes, caving,
Wow.
introduction to rock climbing. Like
So that's all in that could be all in one trip.
that's all in one trip.
Wow, that sounds outstanding.
Yeah, and
Uh,
so a lot of all-inclusive resorts, what they'll do is get you in at a real good price point, and then you sign up for little activities, which maybe aren't as elaborate as what we offer, but uh, you can imagine every time you spend $100 to do an activity, the price
mhm.
starts to really add up. So we're just trying to make one nice package where you don't have to worry about anything. You show up and we take care of you from the airport
Wow.
right back to the airport at the end and everything else in
Wow.
between.
Wow. It sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Now, I know in talking to you about just the intimacy of Cuba and the Cuban people, the landscape, the weather. Um, you have a little slogan. Your trips start where? What do you say?
oh yeah. Uh, our trips start where the other tour buses end.
Okay.
And what I find in Cuba, there's a lot of real hot spots. Old Havana City. There's some different destinations where people go, and you'll see a lot of the tour buses doing those circuits. And I find when we're out on tour, we gather quite a crowd because we pull up, maybe with our kayaks on the trailer, and people right away like, "Wow, I didn't know you could do this here." And so we start to talk to them and tell them about all the places we've been, which are off the beaten path. And when I started, we were the only people out there doing it.
Yeah. It's
So
incredible.
we had the whole place to ourselves.
Wow.
And so that's where I kind of got that slogan is we kind of wanted to get away from what everybody else was doing and show you the real Cuba, the raw Cuba,
Yeah. So
and the people.
right. So when
Yeah,
people leave, they feel like they had a real taste of Cuban life,
for sure,
as if you were a resident. You
for
lived
sure.
there. You were Cuban. You lived there.
Yep,
And having said that, what about the food? What can people
yep.
expect in terms of what's the food like? What's the
Well, I
menu
think
like there?
I'm being honest. I think a lot of people, when you ask them what was your experience like in Cuba, if they've been to an all-inclusive, probably the one complaint that always stood out in my mind was the food was kind of but not on my tours. I find with the big all-inclusive resorts, I mean, they're interested in getting you in into their little compound, feeding you bulk, meals.
Hmm.
I call them mystery meat slop bins, and just all as much drink as you can drink and food as you can eat, and that's not what we do. I mean,
Right.
we try to hit private restaurants, which is a very new venture for Cuban people are able to start their own little business now as private restaurants.
Wow. So
So
you're supporting local business.
yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah. So we try to hit that, and a lot of the places that we stay are small places like little villas, little cabins on the edge of the ocean. I mean, it's not the giant, pack,
yeah. Yeah.
5,000 people into it. It's more intimate.
Yeah, and the purpose of this is not to diss all inclusive. I mean, there are a lot of advantages to all inclusive holidays, and they suit a
Sure,
lot of people.
sure.
You're just providing a specialty service, which is
That's it.
right.
And if you haven't thought about doing something like this, I really encourage it because I think once you try an adventure where you get to see the variety and mix with the Cuban people, experience their culture, experience their food the way
Hmm.
they would prepare it,
Hmm.
and these beautiful natural places that not many tourists even go to.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden you go, man, why haven't I done this before?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
maybe it's because you don't know it exists or how to even go about doing it.
Right.
And
And that's your specialty.
that's what I love doing. It's
Yeah.
and what a better place to do it than a place like Cuba that is literally just starting to open their doors to the idea of alternative adventure style travel.
Okay. Well, that's amazing. Sounds incredible. Now, you're a parent, so
Yeah.
am I, and as a parent, maybe wanting to embark on one of your first trips, like a Cuban trip. What about safety? What about thinking as a family? Is there are there any concerns?
Oh, again, I've traveled a lot. I've been to a lot of places around the world, in search of adventure, and the Cuban people are incredible. And I'm telling you, I don't mind putting myself into situations where most people wouldn't. Like I don't mind hitchhiking around the country. I mean, I've put myself into places, trying to explore new areas that most people probably wouldn't have.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, I have never felt more comfortable in a place of, traveling. Like it feels like home to me sometimes. Like the Cuban people, they're a lot like us Canadians. We're pretty laid back, and they love each other. The sense of culture and community. There's a little more buzz around Cuba now, and now that the doors are starting to open a little bit more to United States, and still some regulations, and but we can help if you're from the States. We can also help you figure out how to get there, and we do have programming for U.S. Direct now, which is amazing.
Wow.
But the opportunity is there, and I think the buzz is there, and we're starting to see other operators try to kind of do what we've done, which is a great compliment to us, and the more the merrier. I think this is great. The people need to see this side of Cuba outside of the all-inclusive resorts.
Wow. Wow. It sounds so exciting, and I just want to touch on why we're doing this. We really wanted to kind of do a candid interview style. So to highlight Jay, highlight CubaAdventureCompany.com, it we believe it's going to work quite well because Jay's got a lot of experience now in Cuba, and I have minimal experience. So I have questions about Cuba that maybe most of our viewers would have, and so that's what we're going to touch on in this interview style talk. Yeah.
So are you excited to lead some trips in Cuba, Jeff?
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. All I see is you got to go to the website because words can't describe. All you need to do is look at Jay's videos and his pictures, and it says it all. So
that's cool.
It's outstanding.
Well, the other thing too that about our company is that you see us talking about it. You see us in the videos. We're the ones who market these trips. We lead the tours. We design the tours. We live and breathe these tours. This is we're not an agency trying to sell someone else's tours. You deal with us. You deal with our adventure crew, and from my standpoint, when I look for adventures to do, I want to feel comfortable with who I'm going with. I want to know that they're kind of the gurus and that they're passionate, and
right.
You spend your hard-earned money on a tour. You want to make sure that you get the most out of the tour, and that's why we do these talks. That's why we do our videos. That's it's us.
So having said that, if people have found you on YouTube, or they're going to watch this video, they can expect to, when they get off the plane in Cuba, to see you or to see me or somebody else that's part of the team.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, like we go down as the tour leader and we work with the local people. So, for instance, on our kayak program, we have our kayak guide, who we've trained, is our main guide, and we go along as the assistant to him and your tour leader. So we're always with you throughout all the adventures. So, and we know the country really well. We've done a lot of exploring, so we know all the nice little places that kind of get you away from the crowds and make the most of the tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Question, you and I we're so lucky to live in Muskoka, and as you've mentioned, we love adventure. We love canoe trips, kayak trips. Going on those trips, we're sleeping on the ground. We're sleeping in tents, and because we like to. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of trips people are going to do? Are they going to be sleeping on the ground? What are the accommodations like? Where are people? What is it like?
Yeah, like first of all, Cuba's infrastructure isn't set up for that type of travel. I want to give you an example of this. If you were to fly into Cuba and you wanted to rent some kayaks and paddle along the coast and camp on the beaches, you would be arrested and put in jail.
Wow.
It sounds crazy, for us. I mean, we're used to paddling and doing whatever we want, right? But this is very, very new to them. This is the start of them opening up to adventure travel. And so we've, again, a lot of years of asking for permission and getting these programs set up. And once we get the permission granted to us from the Coast Guard and the government-run marinas and the people that we work with down there, we've established these little areas that we think are the highlights for paddling, and we focus on those. So you're not traveling a long distance like an expedition style travel. What we do is we go to these beautiful spots like the mangrove salt flats, the coral cliffs of the southern shore, and then up into the mountains of Hanna-Bonilla, where you're right in the valley of these pristine mountains.
Wow,
so you have variety. And with that variety, we want to make sure you get a nice night's sleep and enjoy your evenings. So we stay at these little villas. You always have like a nice bed to sleep on at night.
Wow.
The food is all taken care of. You can even, in the evening, try your self out for dancing. I mean, you can, it's that type of variety that makes it, it's an adventure, but it's also, we know it's a holiday for you.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Every time you say a little snippet of something, it sounds so amazing. I can't wait to go down there. In Muskoka, we know when after the first week in May, we can expect black flies, and then come mosquitoes, and there's a definite bug season that we're all prepared for, and we put up with here. As beautiful as it is here in Muskoka, we love it, but there is a bug season. And is that something that again, as a parent bringing a family down,
when's the best time to go?
Exactly.
Okay. We're lucky in Cuba. I mean, when we get to around the end of October, start of November, everything is lush down there, like just stunning. All the flowers are in bloom. It's really beautiful. And the rains have kind of tapered off from that September, October.
Wow.
So, all my trips I've done, I've only can remember maybe 2 days where we've had some good rains. That's it. So from November running right through till April is the most ideal time to go. Very little bugs. I mean, maybe in the salt flats, the mangrove marshes, you might get the odd mosquito in the shade where maybe it's out of the direct sun. But even up in the high mountains and stuff, there's no biting bugs.
Wow.
And there's no other real creatures to worry about. There's no poisonous spiders.
That was my
no
next.
Poisonous snakes. There's
that's nice to know, because you think of places like Australia, or where you if you've never been there, but you've heard of things like that.
Sure.
There's a lot of poisonous creatures.
Sure.
And so that's nice to know.
Oh yeah, no, very, very safe place to travel. No worries from the natural world. There's really no worries. So
Okay.
yeah.
Now, if I was somebody who really wanted to get a taste of the culture of Cuba, maybe mixed with a little bit of outdoor adventure, do you offer something like that?
Well, pretty much all of our tours have an element of culture mixed in.
Wow.
And so, for instance, if you come on a multi-sport adventure, not only will you do horseback riding, hiking, caving, snorkeling, catamaran tour. You can see the mix. The variety is great. We also make sure that we do a city tour, or even 2 city tours. It just depends.
Okay.
So we go right into the downtown of say Cienfuegos or Trinidad, old Trinidad, like a 500-year-old city.
Wow.
UNESCO, recognized city, and do a real, tour right in the downtown, right in the heart of the culture.
Wow.
Yeah, so you will get a really good taste of Cuban life, Cuban people, the whole world outside of all-inclusive resorts.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I got 2 things: Cuban cigars and chocolate.
What about Cuban rum?
No, well, that's okay. Okay, 3 things. Cuba, so yeah, Cuba's famous for a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mentioned a couple there. Can you go right to? As working in agriculture between school, priming tobacco in Ontario is something that I've done. So the tobacco fields or farms in Cuba where these famous cigars are made. Can you go there?
For sure.
Really?
Yeah. Cuba is an interesting country, the way it's divided up. And if you guys have any questions about different regions or a lot of our clients, they take a tour with us and maybe want to stay for an extra week and visit somewhere else. Well, you just email me and I'll let you know these little cool hot spots that are, again, a little more off the beaten path.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, you'll love it. It's a neat experience. I spent some time in the very far west of Cuba, which is known for the cigars, and I tell you, I took a horseback riding tour with a gentleman there, Cuban gentleman, and all through the countryside, right between these mountains, out into the fields. We went right into the farmers' houses and
Wow.
the tobacco drying facilities, and it taught me how to make my own cigar. And I mean, it blew my mind. It was an amazing,
Wow.
and for 2017-18, we're actually going to introduce a tour in the west, in the Pina del Rio area, in this place called Vinales, where we're going to focus on that side of the culture.
Being buddies for a long time, I know that you're not particularly fond of extreme heat. You know, living in Canada, we're kind of climatized to a more temperate climate.
Yep.
And so I'll have to admit, initially, when you came back from Cuba for the first time, knowing that, but
It's not bad there. I mean, if you're in the direct sun and like maybe the salt flats where it's really shallow water, that turquoise blue water, the sun's pretty intense. But the beautiful thing is you can, you just swim in the water. It's really nice. Whereas you get inland on some of the hikes, you're in tropical jungles which provide a lot of shade, and it's actually quite nice. The temperature is actually beautiful.
Wow.
Up in the mountains at nighttime, in degrees Celsius anyway, it can go down to maybe 14, 15 degrees, so a nice cool evening.
Okay, well that's good to know.
So it's not overbearing.
And then and the bulk of the tours in terms of on the calendar start and finish when?
So the first tours usually go out right around the start of November. Like that's a great time to get things rolling. Everything's lush. It looks beautiful there.
Okay.
And then we run them pretty consistent. I think we have, I want to say, almost 50 tours on the schedule this year, running from the start of November right through to about mid-April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So I mean that would lend itself to, I mean, there's obviously a difference in temperature heat-wise to say July, and then the fact that you're running it from November to.
Yeah, like you can head to Cuba in the summertime and do stuff as well. And if you have special groups that you want to head there and do something exciting, feel free to contact me. And you know what, I'll organize a really neat mixed tour. Or if you want to do a kayak tour, that's no problem. Just be aware that the temperature is quite a bit hotter.
Okay.
In those summer months.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually leads to my next question. You have specific trips that are categorized, and we're not going to get into that right now because we're going to actually shoot other videos that are specific to the different kinds of trips. But what I'm getting at is, based on the trips that you have, if somebody wants to say take some time off on a day that they've say gone to they're involved in a multi-sport trip or a kayak trip, do they have is there a little bit of freedom there? Is there
100%?
Okay.
Yeah. So say you sign up for a multi-sport program, you like the idea of doing all the mixed activities, but maybe you're not into horseback riding.
Okay. Right.
So instead of going on the horseback riding activity, you can choose to walk a trail system to a nice beach and then meet up with us for lunch. The nice thing is we're really flexible. We have our own tour bus, like a coach bus, air-conditioned bus.
Wow. With
cold drinks in the cooler or in the fridge in there.
Okay.
And you can, so if you choose to set a day out and you want to just stay and lounge by the pool at one of the little villas, that's no problem too.
Wow.
So we're really flexible that way.
Talking about traveling and going from say point A to point B, and you mentioned the bus, your personal belongings. How does that work?
Yes, a lot of people ask that. Do we, when we're kayaking, for instance, on a kayak tour, do we have a support boat that follows us?
Yeah.
Of course not. I don't want a motorboat following us. I'd rather be very quiet and nature based. And so what we do is we have our tour bus that always carries our personal belongings from stop to stop. So, we may, paddle and end up at a different destination, and our bus is waiting there. And we have the same driver we've had since the first year we started operations,
Oh, wow.
and he's been with us ever since. And so everything is safe and secure. That's no problem. And it also acts as like our giant locker room.
Okay.
It's a good place to change, hang up your wet stuff from kayaking, or for the multi-sport adventures, it gets us from different activities.
Okay.
So yeah,
Wow. Well, that
yeah,
answers that question. How do I know as a consumer that I see you on YouTube,
yeah.
and I watch your videos, and I feel like I know you. How do I know I'm getting you? Are there other are there other operators that are popping up? And is it possible that I could maybe it could be a confusing thing? I think I'm
Sure,
getting you as a tour operator, but maybe I'm getting somebody else.
sure. Well, as you can see with the buzz of Cuba right now, and everything's starting to expand in Cuba, um, and this is a whole sector of travel that is fairly unexplored right now. So what you're going to see over the next few years is more and more people wanting to come in and do adventure-based travel, which is great. It's great for the country. It's great
Yeah.
for the Cuban people. But my advice to anybody is make sure, like you say, seeing the YouTube videos, really do your homework and see, is this company doing these things? Who are you talking to? When you're emailing, um, and I invite anybody to contact us direct. You'll be dealing with us,
Yeah.
and that's important. I mean, your hard-earned money, you want to make sure that you get the best bang for your buck with a reputable company that has your interests in mind. And I have to admit, it's over the last 3 years of me expanding. It's amazing how many different operations are trying to get in now, and you're also going to start to see agencies selling adventure type programming that they didn't design,
Hmm.
and they're not the face of, and you're not really dealing with anyone in the company that put the itinerary
Hmm.
together or the adventure or is your tour leader, but they might be trying to sell somebody else's package,
I see. Okay.
right? So
So that's good to
it's
know.
it's again, you can't go wrong. The Cuban people are great. The countryside's beautiful. But again, just if you have any questions, make sure that whoever you're dealing with is willing to talk to you one on one. And again, the videos speak for themselves. When you see people like ourselves out there doing it, that's who you're getting. You're getting the real deal.
Yeah.
So that's probably my advice for you on that is just do your homework and ask the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fantastic. So now, talking about the kayaking, is it something? I mean, if you're doing kayaking for the first time, and maybe this is something that you and I take for granted. I know people coming into the store, we often get similar questions. Are they tippy? Oh, that boat looks very, that boat does look very unstable. It's long, it's narrow,
Yeah.
or am I going to be able to fit in that boat? And
Yeah.
so kind of explain the kind of kayaks. Is it for strictly, our kind of paddlers where we're enthusiasts, they're hardcore, or can what?
No,
Maybe
like
expand
I
on
I
that.
went to a kayak that is a good all round kayak for day paddling. So
Okay.
around 15 feet, lightweight, like 42 pounds,
Oh, nice.
real
Wow.
easy to handle. With a little more of a moderate width, 24 inches. So the stability's
Right.
is pretty solid.
Yeah.
But if you're maybe a little nervous about this, or maybe a little bit bigger person, we also have some models that have larger openings as well, so
Okay.
easier to get in and out of. Or maybe you're a little bit older and the hips and stuff don't work like they used to, or the legs cramp up.
Right.
This will give you the ability to be able to stretch legs and easy to get in and out of. And remember, there's always two guides on the kayak tours, right? So
Okay.
we can help you in and out. We stabilize the boats for you.
Okay.
We lift and load the stuff, so you don't have
That's
to worry
perfect.
about anything. You're there to have a good time
Okay.
and to be comfortable in the kayak. And the tandems as well is another option. If you have maybe a husband-wife team and one of you is maybe not as much into paddling as the other, well, you can go in a tandem and you could choose to, you know, paddle lazy or put the effort into it or take photos or relax or
Wow.
yeah.
That sounds
So
amazing.
we have the options and that's part of our booking system. Asks a lot of questions to really determine what's best for you on our tours. So
Okay.
we can determine that ahead of time before you come.
That's great. What kind of paddling can we expect? I mean, again, if you're new and you really like this
Right.
adventure, this kind of adventure of paddling a kayak in Cuba, am I might have this image of being out in the ocean, in I don't know, in 10-foot seas.
Yeah.
That could be, to somebody new to the sport, be very scary.
Sure. Sure.
So is it strictly ocean paddling? Is there inland paddling? Like what?
Great, yeah,
What can I expect?
great question. Cuba, the locations that we've chosen are pretty user friendly.
Okay.
And it's rare in Cuba to get really big water. On the north side of the island in the winter, when the northern winds push down from Canada,
Okay.
they can get some pretty big waves on the north side.
Wow.
So we focus a lot of our operations on the south coast because of the safety. The oceans are really calm.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, and the most variety in landscape happens there. So
Okay.
we can do mangrove marshes, salt flats,
Wow.
beautiful coral cliff regions with little isolated beaches.
Yeah.
One of my favorite areas. Up in the mountains, an inland lake, the largest inland lake in all of Cuba, makes for some beautiful paddling, and you're right in the valley of the Escambray mountain range. I mean, it is like,
Wow.
you have to shake your head and you think you're in a dream there. I mean, it's stunning.
Okay.
So there is a lot of variety and nothing overwhelming.
Yeah, like in a
overwhelming.
day's paddling, for instance, again, you and I have been on some trips where we've have allotted destination where we know we're covering X amount of kilometers, say over a week's time, so we have
Right.
to do a certain amount of kilometers per day.
Right.
Is that the kind of trips you're offering, or is it a little more kind of intermediate where?
Yeah, a little more flexible.
Okay.
Yeah, flexible. So if we get conditions that aren't, perfect, maybe the sea's a little choppy on the south shore, we can choose to do a little smaller route.
Okay.
If it's like glass and we get up and we want to cover a little more distance and the group's game for it, we can cover more distance. So
Okay.
we have a lot of flexibility.
Okay.
We don't have to start from one place and get to this place
Okay.
or else kind of thing.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. We're very flexible on it. And if we get another thing, if we get a group of paddlers and some are extremely keen about covering distance and want to see as much as they can, and maybe half the group is more of a casual paddlers, the beautiful thing with two guides is we can kind of split the group a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So if we're out for 2-3 hours of paddling and some more want to kind of continue on, I mean, it's not a problem with the two guide setup. It's beautiful. We can actually branch off, cover a little more distance with the keeners, and let the other ones kind of go back and enjoy a pina colada at the pool.
Okay. That's amazing.
So,
that's great.
yeah.
You touched on something, mountains. So, we know that different elevations lend themselves to different temperatures, different weather
Yep.
conditions. So, in our preparing to come to Cuba, what kind of clothing? Like, what are there? If I'm in an allotted trip, do I need to be worried about whether I should carry everything from a bathing suit to, say, like a fleece, because we're going up in elevation? Like, what?
Yeah, like I'll give you some recommendations. Like when you do sign up or book for a tour, I'm going to give you a list of recommended items and really follow that recommendation.
Okay.
A lot of your personal items that you bring, you can choose to bring or not. But I'll give you some real, like if I say, hey, we're going to the mountains for an overnight, and I say make sure you bring a cozy set of clothing, means long pants, fleece for the evening. So just really stick to my recommended list is pretty important to follow.
Okay.
And you'll be prepared for everything. And the nice thing is you don't have to carry everything with you because we
Okay.
do have our bus with us the whole time.
Okay.
So we have safe, secured storage. So if we're out for a day paddle, you only need to bring whatever you want for that day.
Okay. And you would know because you've designed these trips.
Oh yeah,
Right? You're the guy. You went specifically to these places. You found the little jewels, the little areas, and you crafted each trip based on what you thought people would love. So
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's kind of a selfish way to design things, but I basically design them the way that I would like to do them. And yeah, I mean, we go to different locations, and I know them pretty well, and I've laid out the tours to kind of encompass a great variety and a great mix of activities.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. I can't wait. I'm looking so forward to this season. I can't wait to go there.
Jeff's going to be guiding down there this year too. So, and myself and another fellow, Peter, you'll see him in the videos. And we've got quite a team. Check out our team players online there. If you go to the Cuba All-Star list, you can see all of us and kind of see our backgrounds. But we're all adventure nuts, all enthusiasts.
Yeah. Love the outdoors.
Love the outdoors.
All right. Yeah. So, Jay, when you go on your website, and there are different ways to book, and we're not going to get into that right now. It's very user friendly. We know that, and but what given the fact that if I sign up and say, wow, the kayak adventure is something that I want to do, and I see the price, what does that include? Is
Okay. Yeah. So on the website, there'll be a full itinerary. It'll also state everything that's included. Now,
Okay.
in general, our trips are all inclusive. So
Okay.
they include everything
Okay.
except for extra drinks. So if you'd
Okay.
like to have a few extra drinks in the evening, that's kind of up to you. But everything else is covered. So the shuttles to and from the airport, the shuttles in between locations, all equipment needed to do to
Right.
do the trips.
Okay.
Uh,
Food.
Food, professional guides, the accommodations. The only thing kind of be outside of that we have to worry about is the flight.
Okay.
So, and now people are coming from different parts of the world. So the most important thing is to coordinate everybody to arrive at a similar time so that our bus is there ready to go and the adventure begins. So
Of
you
course.
can imagine this is one of the hardest things for our standpoint to coordinate. But it's important for you to work with us to coordinate what flight you should be buying.
Okay.
Because if you kind of buy into something and say, oh, I'm arriving at 8 p.m. on the starting day and the rest of the crew came in at 10, you can imagine the logistical nightmare of trying to get you to our starting destination.
Right.
Right. So we're willing to help. We're willing to kind of hone in. And my advice, the best thing to do when you're booking a trip is figure out what program works best for you. Check the calendar for available dates. Book your tour. Now, if something changes and you decide to transfer to a different tour or even back out for whatever reason, so there is a money back return policy on there, you'll see it. So you're not locked in with anything with us. But the important thing is to get your name on the list so we can determine we have enough now, the minimum requirement, to run it. Then we contact the whole group that signed up and we start to work with you to coordinate your flights. So the most important thing is don't jump right away and buy a flight and then sign up for a program.
Right. Because
Sign up first, and then when we give you the green light, we'll help you to determine what flight makes the most sense.
again, to make sure that that group for that trip, everybody gets there at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
Well, that's fantastic.
That's perfect. It's a little different in Cuba. So when you're a U.S. citizen coming into Cuba for travel, we have to have a designated week or a designated program for Americans.
Okay.
So it's important to look at the schedule to make sure that you're signing up for either an American direct tour or a global tour, which includes everybody else. I know it's kind of strange, but this is how Cuba does things right now, and I think with time, it's going to become more integrated. But it's Cuba, and that's how they have to work it. And unfortunately, the Americans are going to pay a little bit more right now. Again, it's out of our hands. It's the agencies that we work with within Cuba that determine this. But the American direct tours I have run, I'm telling you, I have loads and loads of testimonials. If anyone wants to hear any of them, or they've had a blast. In fact, I have a lot of return customers again coming this season on another tour.
Wow.
So,
wow.
yeah.
How would you say your trips are priced, say, compared to other companies
Sure.
similar to yours?
Yeah, like I'm trying to make them as affordable as possible.
Okay.
You know, and I realize that a lot of people want to do something outside of the all-inclusive resorts. And let's face it, in Cuba, all-inclusive resorts are fairly inexpensive. I mean, for $1,000 Canadian, you can go for a full week and have everything kind of, covered at the resort. But it doesn't allow you to get out and do fun activities beyond sitting by the pool.
Okay.
So for me, I wanted to offer a price that isn't much more than that, but allows you to be doing something active and fun every single day.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been very conscious of trying to
Okay, well, that's good
keep
to
it
know.
affordable.
That's
You
good
know,
to know.
and
Listening you talk about this, I mean, if you could conjure up in your mind the perfect vacation, and you could just let your mind go wild, I can't imagine not wanting to do this. It sounds like everything is you offer everything.
Yeah, and a kind of a neat story. I fly back and forth to Cuba a lot, leading the tours, and a lot of time on the plane when I'm flying back after a tour, I'm sitting beside someone who wasn't on my tour, and they see me going through all my photos from the week, and right away you see them like, "Wow, where's that?" And I said, "Well, that was in Cuba." And they go, "We didn't see anything like that."
There you go.
And immediately they said, "Well, I wish I could do something like that." And before you know it, we're sharing stories, and I'm showing them photos, and they didn't even know that something like this existed where they could see all that in a week. So
that's incredible.
I think this video hopefully will help people that have that adventure spirit in them, but are they don't know where to begin, or maybe nervous about doing this. Don't be like this. this is the start of something special for you. If you come on a tour like this, you're going to be addicted. I can tell you right now.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Again, listening to all the things that are offered, that you offer, it just sounds like something that it's for everybody. You offer everything,
Yeah.
and it's for everybody.
It's for everybody.
For all ages, for
Yeah.
all, right?
Yeah, these tours aren't for the elite athlete, and it's not. It's
The hikes are moderate. The paddling's moderate.
it's an active adventure. I'm not trying to kill you, just trying to get you out there and feel like, you got some nice exercise, and we're breathing some fresh air and got to see some beautiful places. That's the key, and then understanding a little bit about the culture. That's why we want to travel.
Yeah.
A lot of people go to all-inclusive resorts. They go to all-inclusive resorts, and they want to experience Cuba, and they want to experience the culture, but that isn't Cuba, and that isn't the culture.
They're actually separated from.
You're separated from, and I always say it more resembles a noisy food court at a mall, at a shopping mall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not.
And
compared to what you were describing,
no.
not very.
No.
Okay. Are the roads safe? There's something. I mean, you see, watch some of these shows on TV or YouTube or whatever, and they're on these precarious, winding roads, and with a 1,000-foot drop down below beside the bus. Is that the kind of roads we're going to be on, or is it for the most part pretty safe?
No, it's pretty safe up in the mountains. I mean, there's some beautiful mountain roads that kind of meander from Trinidad up into the Escambray mountain range, and I mean, it's stunning. And when we take the big 4x4 mountain jeeps up there, I mean, it's $1 million views. I mean, it's stunning. But no, it's safe, and you have to realize in Cuba there's not a lot of car traffic on the road because most Cuban people can't afford cars. I mean, it's a luxury item there. So in the middle of rush hour on the main highway that connects most of central Cuba together, I mean, you're lucky to see a few cars. I mean, it's and the cars you do see, you feel like you just went back in time. I mean,
yeah, well, I've heard that, and you see the pictures, and you think, okay, well, maybe that's just one aspect of Cuba, and in Huntsville, for example, on Thursday nights, you can go see the old cars. All the guys park their old cars, and it's awesome. But that's Cuba.
No. When you come to Cuba, you feel like you literally went back in time, 30, 40, 50 years.
Wow.
Like all the old cars, and they've kept them immaculate. Like it's really a sight to see. And you go into some of the little communities, and here you've got these beautiful old cars, just pristine, and then right behind it you've got a guy, on a horse and cart, and then someone on a bicycle, with his wife on the back, kid between his leg, and she's holding the chicken that's dinner.
I mean, that's wow.
It's a real hoot, and I mean, that's what makes Cuba beautiful. Is it's a very unique place and very different from anywhere else in the world in that sense.
And so diverse.
Yeah. My goodness. Yeah, you've got a real mix there.
How do I set up one of these? How do I go on one of your trips? What's the easiest way?
Okay, so first thing, check out the website. We've really tried to make our website as user-friendly as possible. When you get onto it, it's CubaAdventureCompany.com, and you'll see when you get on right away that the tours, as you scroll down on the home page, it's set up by category. So kayak tours, stand-up paddleboard tours, multi-sport adventures, diving, climbing. So it's really easy. Check out the YouTube videos, because that's kind of us showing you the tour. I mean, that gives you, you can watch that and get a really good idea, is this tour for you or not?
Okay.
And then from there, the detailed itineraries are there. Make sure you read them, see if it makes sense for what you want to do. And then from there, if you're ready to book, the easiest thing to do is literally the Book Now button. When you book now, you'll go through a series of questions. So we ask you certain questions. It's very simple. Just fill them out as you go. It shouldn't take long, maybe 10 minutes. And that gives us all the information we need from you. It'll also answer probably a lot of questions about the tour and give you detailed information on what to bring, what's included, what's required. And at the very end is basically the checkout process. And the checkout process, and if you want to look online, it has our terms and conditions. It has cancellation policies. We're very laid back about this stuff. Very easy. Everything is spelled out. If you have any questions, you can also email us.
That's the highlight of this. Well, partly the highlight of
Yeah,
this video to give us exposure. So if you're talking to me or you or somebody on our team, so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I mean, when you go through that setup and you go through the steps, that'll ensure that you book your spot on there. It'll also show you our calendar so you can see what's available, how many spots.
okay,
It's a real easy way when the trips are running.
okay,
Just take your time and follow it through. And if you have any questions, like, feel free to contact us direct. I mean, that's what we're here for. I mean, you're not dealing with a third-party agency that doesn't know anything about the tours. You're going to be dealing directly with the people that have designed the tour, that lead the tour, and will be probably leading you on your adventure.
That's right. So they can talk to you specifically. They can call me. They can email you.
No problem.
Email whatever.
No problem. And if you want to request a specific person to talk to, Jeff, Jay, Peter, Kristen, whoever you want to talk to, that's not a problem. Just address them, or in general, just do a general inquiry, and you'll see that one of us will respond to you right away. I mean, we respond, in less than 24 hours every time. And yeah, or feel free to phone. The main number on our website brings us into our headquarters. And from there, if you want to deal directly with one of us specific, then we'd be happy to give out the number, and you can phone us direct. That's no problem.
All right. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. It sounds so exciting. What a place, Cuba. I never would have imagined all the things that you've mentioned and talked about in terms of adventure. I mean, anybody that has any desire to want an adventure holiday, I mean, Cuba.
Yeah.
Right?
Affordable, people are great, and areas that are pretty much untouched.
Okay.
So,
all right. CubaAdventureCompany.com.
We'll see you in Cuba.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Jay.
No problem.